People had a lot to say about Samantha Markle versus Meghan Markle. Sandra says Samantha does have a lot more power behind her, and I think if she loses this one, she has more to come. Yvette says, how on earth did Meghan Markle defame her half-sister? She hasn't had contact with her in 10 plus years. No malice on Meghan's part. Samantha has been brutal and stalking Meghan. A lot of people, either Team Samantha or Team Meghan on this one.
Right. It's quite a controversial issue, and Meghan's also a pseudo royal, and it's a fun story, but it's an odd one from her sister, and the whole drama from the father. It's probably something she doesn't want to deal with, and litigation's never fun. Family involved. I feel bad for everybody involved in the family, but it feels, I'm probably leaning towards Team Meghan more than anything, even though I'm probably not supposed to say that.
Totally. Well, let's dive into this one a little bit more, because Samantha did appear in virtual court in her defamation suit against her, saying that Meghan tarnished her name by fabricating a rags to royalty narrative. So she, like we said, sued Meghan in federal court in Florida for making false and malicious statements about her to a world audience during her 2021 interview, CBS Tell-All interview, and the 2020 book, Finding Freedom. Samantha says that Meghan orchestrated the campaign to defame and destroy her sister's and father's reputation and credibility in order to preserve and promote the false rags to royalty narrative. Samantha's lawyer said that this false narrative put out by Meghan harmed her client. And that Meghan's lawyer, Michael Klemp, however, said Samantha has no grounds to sue for defamation. The judge in this case said that she was really struggling to see how Meghan published her so-called defamatory statements against Samantha, a requirement in such lawsuits. It seems that maybe this case might be dismissed now. Do you foresee that happening?
Maybe on a technicality, especially with the comments by the judge. There's many elements to defamation. It's a very, very old claim, but one of them is that it needs to be published. And if the judge finds that they weren't published as a matter of law, then the judge goes, you don't even get to talk about the merits or what harm there was. I think the other one is, how is this hurting Samantha? How has she got some type of cognizable damage? Which, did she lose money? Did she lose a contract? That's going to be a hard one to kind of point to too, because no one, if anything, Samantha's profile has been elevated because of Meghan. So it's one of those things. I think a jury would be very sympathetic in that context. But yeah, on a technicality, it could be dismissed.
It's interesting because I think just last week, Nima and I were saying that a judge ruled that Meghan could testify, and now it's kind of changing so quickly. Is that normal as well?
Yeah, so a lot of the times judges who are intellectually honest want to have an opportunity to hear evidence, even though they're not making a ruling as to whether something can come in or not. Sometimes very, very early, especially federal judges, they can kind of do whatever they want. They can be like, listen, on this very, very specific issue, I just want to hear what people have to say, and I might change, I might lean one way just by hearing that. And it's very, very unique to the federal system with federal judges who are pretty much can rule their castle however they want.
It's interesting that Samantha is using Finding Freedom, since Meghan didn't even write that book. So how is that even being thrown into this case? Shouldn't she be going after the writers of that book for defamation then?
She should, but I guess the theory would be that there's a source, right? That supposedly Meghan was a source.
Right.
And that's the implication, but it's very bad, respectfully, it's very bad lawyering, very bad pleading from the standpoint. If anything, you should bring everybody in versus just concentrating on one defendant. It's kind of like Civ Pro 101 for attorneys. If you got more than one defendant, you can bring after all of them, so you can see where the pockets are and who's likely to pay.
Mm-hmm. So if this case gets dismissed, is there anything left for Samantha Markle to do, or this kind of just disappears?
You would think it would likely disappear, especially if there's a dismissal on the merits. If there's a dismissal on the merits, it can absolutely should go away. If it's dismissed on a procedural issue, technically, if she's within the statute of limitations, she could bring it back at any forum.
Interesting. All right. Well, the Meghan and Harry are still in the news, but in a different way, because they were portrayed on an episode of South Park. It was titled The Worldwide Privacy Tour. A source told Spectator that Meghan has been upset and overwhelmed by the episode's release and annoyed by South Park, but refuses to watch it. They described this. So a Canadian royal couple, they dubbed them the prince and his wife, which clearly parodied the couple. They begged for privacy while drawing attention to themselves in a spoof-like way. The character that is based on Meghan is a sorority girl, an actress, an influencer, and quote-unquote a victim. Well, a royal expert told Fox News that their legal team could take action it appears that this isn't going to happen because they did release a statement saying that they're not going to move forward. But what kind of legal action could they have taken if they wanted to?
So at least here in the United States, under the First Amendment and free speech, there is a very good body of law about that satire and parody, which is what South Park is very famous for, is protected speech under the First Amendment. And the idea is that if no one really believes this thing to be true, even though you know who we are all referring to, it really isn't going to, quote unquote, damage you. So if everybody sees something, you know, they've done Trump episodes, they've done, I think, Obama episodes, everybody watching that goes, we know this isn't reality. We know that, you know, these people didn't really do this at any site. This is just purely for entertainment. And no one's going to act against, you know, either the prince or Meghan based on what's in reality, right? So that's the issue. It's protected speech. It's an old case. The most famous one is a Larry Flynt case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully they could just take a joke and laugh along with everybody. And I feel like you said, South Park kind of covers their bases by not naming them by name. So they can't really be like, well, this is about Meghan and Harry, and they can argue that it's not. Right.
It makes it even more less likely to harm them, right? It's such satire, such parody that it's protected speech.
For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.